Neha and her family had just moved into an old house. It was large, but there was something unsettling about it. Neha, a 10-year-old girl, loved dolls. One day, while cleaning the house, she discovered an old wooden wardrobe in the attic. Inside it, she found a beautiful but eerie doll. With its dark eyes, red clothes, and pale face, Neha was immediately drawn to it. "Mom, look! This doll is so pretty!" Neha exclaimed. Her mother looked at the doll and felt uneasy. "It's very old, darling. It might be dirty." "No, Mum, I'll clean it," Neha replied excitedly. She placed the doll in her room. But that night, something strange happened. Neha woke up in the middle of the night, feeling as though something was watching her. She opened her eyes and saw the doll staring at her. But the eerie thing was, the doll's head was slightly turned toward her. Neha felt a chill run down her spine. Was it her imagination, or was something sinister at play? The next morning, Neha brushed off the strange occurrence, thinking it was just a bad dream. However, throughout the day, she felt a strange unease whenever the doll was around, as though it was watching her every move. No matter where she placed it, the doll would always be facing her, its eyes never leaving her. One evening, Neha's mother walked into her room and immediately felt uncomfortable. "Neha, I don't like this doll," she said. "But Mum, it's just a toy," Neha responded, laughing it off. But as night fell, the house grew eerily quiet. The lights flickered, and Neha's room felt unnaturally cold. Suddenly, the lights went out. Neha looked around the room, feeling her heart race. A sudden cold breeze swept through, and the wardrobe door creaked open by itself. Neha felt something touch her shoulder, and when she turned, the doll was now sitting by her bed, its eyes glowing red. Neha screamed, but no one came to her aid. Neha's screams echoed through the house. Her parents rushed into her room, but when they saw the doll sitting on her bed, they were speechless. "Neha, what's going on?" her mother asked, her voice trembling. "The doll. It moved by itself," Neha cried. Her father frowned. "This is strange. Let's put it away." But when they tried to move the doll, it was as though something invisible was holding it in place. Every time they tried to place it on the shelf, it would return to Neha's bedside. That night, Neha awoke to a strange whisper. As she opened her eyes, she saw the doll, now hovering in the air, its eyes wide open. It was no longer just a doll. It seemed to have a life of its own. "Neha," the doll whispered, its voice a raspy, haunting sound. "You woke me. Now you will never be free." Neha's heart raced as she realized the terrifying truth. The doll was alive, and it was angry. The next day, Neha's mother began acting strange. She was quieter than usual, and when she looked at the doll, her face turned pale. At night, Neha woke up to find her mother standing by the doll, staring at it with an unblinking gaze. "Mum, what are you doing?" Neha asked, her voice shaking. But her mother didn't respond. Instead, she whispered in a voice that was not her own. "Neha, the doll, it's calling me." Neha's father tried to intervene, but as soon as he touched her, her mother shoved him away with unnatural strength. It was as though her mother had become someone else. With a dark, hollow laugh, her mother looked at Neha and said, "Now, it's too late. We all belong to her." Neha felt a chill in the air as the room grew colder. The doll began to laugh in a guttural, malevolent tone. Panic gripped Neha. "What do we do, Dad? How can we stop this?" "We need to destroy it before it takes over completely," her father said, fear in his voice. But as they approached the doll, it seemed to grow larger, more menacing. Neha and her father had no choice. They had to destroy the doll. Her father grabbed a wooden stick and tried to smash it. But as soon as he touched the doll, his hand burned and he had to pull back. Neha grabbed a lighter and set fire to the nearby old clothes. The flames grew and the doll began to shriek in agony. "No, you can't do this!" the doll screamed. But Neha didn't stop. She threw the doll into the fire and it writhed in the flames, its eyes glowing brighter and brighter. The house trembled as the doll burned, but its cries only grew louder. Suddenly, the house fell silent. The flames extinguished, and everything seemed to go back to normal. The walls were no longer whispering, and the cold air disappeared. Neha and her father let out a sigh of relief. They thought the nightmare was over. But as Neha looked at the ashes, she saw something. There, amid the burned remnants, were the doll's glowing eyes, still watching her. The doll was not destroyed. It was waiting, biding its time. Neha's body began to twitch uncontrollably. Her eyes turned pure white, and she began to laugh in an eerie, otherworldly tone. "Neha, no, please," her father cried, but she didn't respond. The voice coming from her mouth was not hers. "I'm free now. I will take you all," Neha said, her voice twisted and dark. The house started to tremble once again. Doors slammed shut, and strange figures appeared on the walls, laughing in the darkness. Neha, now fully possessed by the doll's vengeful spirit, picked up the remnants of the doll and smiled, her eyes glowing red. "Now, you'll join me," she said, and her father collapsed, unable to move. The house was now completely engulfed in the curse of the doll, and no one could escape. From that day onward, the house remained silent, its dark history waiting for its next victim. The doll's curse was far from over. And Neha, she was no longer Neha. "Now, you'll join me," she said, and her father collapsed, unable to move. The house was now completely engulfed in the curse of the doll, and no one could escape. From that day onward, the house remained silent, its dark history waiting for its next victim. The doll's curse was far from over. And Neha, she was no longer Neha.